So, in today's video, we're going to be talking about how the Big Ten really screwed up this whole, COVID-19 football response. Um, we'll be discussing, the possible, championship implications it could have not only the Big Ten championship, but the college football playoffs as a whole. It'll be a fun time, so let's get ready for it. First off, before we get into the video, if you enjoy what you watch here today, please consider liking the video and subscribing. We are on the grind to 69. It's free to subscribe, all that good stuff. Why should you subscribe, however? I post daily sports videos about college football, college basketball, football itself, and the NBA. So subscribe if you're into any of that stuff, and yeah, let's get right into it, y'all. So, the SEC is the better, conference in terms of football strength, meaning, they have better football teams. And with this whole, COVID-19 offseason, they proved that they are the better, conference in just flat out game planning. So the Big Ten, for those of y'all that don't know, they decided to hold off starting the season until late October. And then after doing so, they decided to only play 8 games because they started in late October. They said that, hey, there will be no, non-Big Ten games allowed, meaning you have to play a Big Ten opponent. And that's important coming up, okay? They also said, and this is the big one, this is the real big one right here, that if you play under 6 games, so if you have 3 games canceled, you're not eligible for the Big Ten championship. And that's the big deal right there. So we'll start off talking about the 8-game schedule, okay? So, basically, by going with an 8-game schedule, they left there no room for games to be made up. So say a team had COVID and they had to, skip a game. They said, hey, there's no room for them to make that game up, right? There's no possibility because of this, 8-game schedule. So this one is probably, quite honestly, the easiest one they could have fixed. If they had started on time and moved to only the 8 games, they could have an off period to just make up any games that they've missed. Really, this is the first place that the Big Ten screwed up. Okay? So the next up, the non-conference games. So they canceled all non-conference games. So I'm not entirely sure about the other team's schedules, but as a Purdue fan, that means we had to cancel our Memphis, Air Force, and Boston College games at the beginning of the season. So, while not a huge issue at first, it quickly became a much bigger issue than anyone anticipated, because this quite simply meant that, when teams got COVID canceled, examples say when Wisconsin had it for 3 or so weeks, the other teams that they were playing, I believe it was Nebraska, attempted to play like West Tennessee or random schools like that, right? But the Big Ten said, hey, no, we're not allowing that. And this is I just don't like this decision at all. I feel like if the Big Ten wanted to be super safe about it and still get, quality football games in, they could have said, hey, as long as these guys are, being tested, as long as they're up to our standards, so as long as they're being held to Big Ten standards, then we're fine with it. But they decided not to. And this resulted in, lots of teams losing, the ability to play games, which wasn't even their fault. For example, the Wisconsin outbreak, that caused Purdue to cancel a game, that caused Nebraska to cancel a game. I believe there's one other team that caused their game to be canceled. And those games are just gone, and there's nothing the teams could do about it because the Big Ten said, hey, we're not letting you schedule outside opponents, even if they've been tested and, quarantined to our liking. So, next big thing, this is the big, not necessarily biggest deal, but it kind of is at the same time. Oh, side note, before we get on to that. The Big Ten said that any player that contacts COVID-19 will be ineligible to play for 3 weeks. I'm not a huge fan of this one, okay? So this rule here is to, prevent players that have it from suffering heart damage, I believe. It's something like that, okay? This is a, unknown disease, relatively unknown at this point. Or not relatively unknown, but, well, yeah, still kind of relatively unknown. This is a relatively unknown disease at this point, and they're trying to figure out if it causes heart damage or lung damage, which is a good thing, and obviously, safety should be the top priority here. But the issue with that is that if a player, let's say that you're a senior playing on Wisconsin, let's just say that you're a senior on Ohio State, right? And you get COVID on week 2. You recover fully, but you have to wait 3 weeks, okay? So that takes you to week 3, week 4, week 5. So it's week 6. And then there's a major outbreak on the rest of the team, and all of a sudden you're looking at only possibly playing 2 games in a season, which, I mean, is a big deal, especially if you're a senior with, a slight football, like professional football chance. I mean, that's reducing the amount of tape that teams have on you. It's just bringing up a lot of unknowns, which could for sure cause you to drop in NFL, projections in the draft. That's what I'm trying to say. So, the issue to this, it's really not an easy one. I feel like the 3-week rule is a good rule, but I feel like they could have, done other things in other ways, such as, adding on the extra games at the end by starting on time, as I said before, allowing those guys to possibly, make up any games they may have missed. Because that could be a huge, issue for some guys, especially if this is your senior season. Could be an issue. The final thing, and this is where the Big Ten really shot themselves in the foot right here. So they said that if you played in less than 8 games, or less than 6 games, apologies, you would not be eligible for the championship, the Big Ten championship. So then, this is not an issue for, schools that, likely weren't going to be there in the first place, such as, Michigan State or, Rutgers, teams like those, right? But then, Ohio State had an outbreak, and they've already missed 2 games. So at this point, it's looking very likely that they'll miss their 3rd game against Michigan State, I believe. So then that would leave them with no Big Ten championship game. That'd leave them with 1 game against Michigan to give them what? 5 total games played, maybe? 4 or 5 total games played, which is for sure, a major issue. Especially when you're going to have a team like BYU or something like that, a team that can say, "Hey, we've played so many more games and we're undefeated." They played 4 games. The best team they played was Indiana. What's up with that? Why are we not included? It just causes a lot of headaches, quite honestly, for the Big Ten. Ohio State, it's looking like they'll only get to 5 games at this point, assuming their game next week against Michigan State is canceled. Now, granted, there's always a chance that their Michigan game could be canceled. I know that the Big Ten is going to do everything in their power to make sure the game against Michigan does not get canceled. And that's in the week of December 8th through 14th. But, if it does get canceled, then you're going to be looking at a 4-0 Ohio State. Okay? Saying, "Hey, we know we've only had 4 games, and the Big Ten is significantly weaker this year with, the lack of Michigan, the lack of Penn State, Wisconsin barely playing any games at all at this point." They're going to be saying, "Hey, you should put us in anyways over the Florida team that has a much, better strength of schedule, has played in much more games, and has proven themselves compared to us who've just kind of, more or less coasted along." If they had pushed back, if they had started the season on time with the SEC, ACC, all of those guys, if they had started the season on time and then just said, "Hey, if we can't play a game, that's fine. We'll just reschedule it for later on when we have actual free time," it's still gone with the 8-game schedule, and then rescheduled any games that they missed for later on in the spare time, that would just look a lot better because, Ohio State will actually get 8 games. They'll actually get the chance to be Big Ten champions. But now the Big Ten's basically said, "Hey, we screwed this up so badly that there's a chance that we won't get a team in the playoffs." And I think it's really interesting if Clemson wins the ACC championship, which I believe they will. They win the ACC championship, and then that basically says, "Hey, we're going to go Alabama at 1 seed, Clemson at the 2 seed, Notre Dame at the 3 seed. Those two are basically interchangeable. Who do we accept now? Because Ohio State hasn't won the Big Ten championship." And I've kind of been rambling for the past couple of minutes. The big method I'm trying to get away here is the college football committee is going to have a very interesting choice this season. Um, yeah, the Big Ten really screwed this one up, y'all. Not gonna lie at all. That's basically the motto of this video. If you learn one thing from this video, the Big Ten is not a very competent organization. Um, yeah. So as I said before at the beginning of the video, and I'll say it again, like the video if you did enjoy this, type of content. If you got any video ideas for me, just like leave it down in the comments below. I'll do my best to, actually make it. I mean, yeah, as I said before, grind to 69. Make sure you subscribe so we can get 69 subscribers. Cause nice. Um, longer term, obviously, subscribe. Tell your friends about me so I can get like 100 or actually, make money off this. That'd be pretty cool too. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's about it for y'all today. Like the video, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Have a great day, y'all.